Hey folks, Matt Kloskowski here from Kelby Media Group, and I wanted to once again just give a big thanks to everybody over at On One for having me on another episode of Perfect Inspiration. So let's take a look here at a photo. We'll start off inside of Lightroom, which is pretty much where I'm going to start off with most of my photography. And this is a portrait shoot that I did. Pretty simple setup. I mean, I had a 70 to 200 lens on. And you can see here, we'll even show you the info. Of course, I don't have the info on this one, but 70-200 lens on. It was at about 200 millimeters. I always stand back from the people, and I try to put them as far away from whatever's behind them as possible, so it gets all blurry like what you see here. And then I put the sun kind of back and just off to one corner. You can see it just gives a nice hair light and a nice rim light all around the people. So it makes it really easy to work on the photo when it's done like that, because you don't have to do a lot of work to it after the fact. So what I'll do here is we'll just maybe reduce the exposure just a hair. I'll go to the white balance and warm it just a little bit. Highlights, you can see I can pull back on some of those highlights in the background here. I don't really have any shadow detail to worry about, so I'm not going to work too much on shadows. Whites and blacks, I always hold down my Option key on Mac, Alt on PC. I click and drag until I see a little white point on the whites. Click and drag to the left until I see a couple little specks there on the blacks, and that gives me an overall good amount of contrast for the photo. Clarity doesn't work too good on people, all right? So we want to keep it away from there, so we're not going to use clarity. Vibrance, I can get a little bit more color, but other than that, I'm pretty much done. I know that there's things that I want to do to the photo, like sharpen the photo and add a vignette and all these different things. And if I wasn't going to leave Lightroom, I could go down to my detail panel, I could sharpen, and I could do a vignette and all that stuff. But I know I'm going to leave Lightroom. I want to do portrait retouching, add a couple special effects to it. So I know I'm going to leave anyway. So might as well just do it inside of Photoshop, On One, wherever you're going. In this case, of course, I'm using On One, but wherever you happen to go, that's my rule of thumb on this stuff. I could sharpen in Lightroom, but if I'm going to go into On One's Perfect Effects, I might as well just use the sharpening in there. If I'm going to go into into Portrait, I might as well use the sharpening to work on the eyes in there. All right. So what we're going to do is go Photo, Edit in, and I'll come down here into Perfect Portrait. Opens us up into the window here. You can see we get boxes around the faces here, so I'll just click on the box that I want to work on. And we'll scroll down. It's automatically found the eyes and the mouth for me. I might always have to go in there and just tweak a little bit. And then maybe even reduce the brightness on the eyes. But you can see it's automatically found them, and I can control the brightness there. And then detail, that's what I was talking about with sharpening, is the detail slider will add sharpening for us. So that's why I can come in here. I don't have to go in and sharpen that inside of Lightroom, because I know that by using Perfect Portrait, I'm going to get my retouching done, and I'm going to get my sharpening of the eyes and any key features done that I want. All right, so we got that. Let's go ahead and we can go click on our faces here. Now we'll work on Mom's face. And we're not going to do a lot here. Again, I might just tweak what it found as the eyes a little bit. I think it did a really good job on the mouth. Just tweak that a little bit. And skin. So we've got our skin correction up here. I don't really like the portrait porcelain type of a look, you know, if we go like that, and it totally blurs it. So I always keep that smoothing setting down pretty low here. Even this is another good one here, just kind of evens out any blemishes and skin tone here. We have a whole blemishes slider. So if you want to remove freckles and blemishes, it works there. For me, most of what I'm concerned about is going to be on the eyes. I want to brighten her eyes just a little bit more, add just a little bit more detail onto her eyes, and I think her teeth are doing pretty good there. So not much more to work with when it comes to portrait. All right, so we could back out a little bit here and just take a look at the little preview. That's before, that's after. Before, after. Not huge changes. Most of what we do when we're doing this kind of shooting is we're brightening eyes, we're brightening teeth, and we're just smoothing the skin a little bit. This isn't high fashion portrait retouching. This is, we're taking pictures of our family outside. All right. I am actually going to go back in on the girl here. I think her eyes are too white, actually. She's got like ET bright eyes. So I'm actually going to pull that down quite a bit here. All right, so now we've got our portrait retouching done. I'm going to hop over into the effects module, and this is where I'm going to finish everything up, add a couple of special effects here. One of the first ones that I like to use on my portraits, I'm going to go over into effects, is down on sunshine, especially in a photo like this, natural light or outside. And I come down here, you're going to see one of the ones is radiance. It just kind of adds, let me turn it off for a second. It just adds an overall amount of contrast and radiance. Radiance is a really good word for it. I might reduce the amount just a little bit more here, down to about 40%. Maybe even a little bit lower. But again, that's before. That's after. I'll probably even take it up a little bit now. I'm going to click on Add. Another one that I like is Warm Highlights. It's going to warm the highlights. And I like the warmth of this photo, so that's why I want to go with Warm Highlights. Again, we're going to reduce the opacity. And because we already warmed the people with that radiance, I'm going to jump over here to the brush and use the right bracket key to make the brush a little bit larger. I'm just going to paint it away from them. All right, I like the warm highlights in the background here, but I don't need the people here to get any warmer than they already are. I don't want them to turn yellow, so I'm going to keep it there and paint it away from there. All right, we can click our preview just to see where we're at. That's where we started. This is where we're at. I'm actually going to come back down to radiance. I'm going to turn it up even more. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and we will click Add. Couple things to finish the photo off here. One of the ones that I use all the time. We've got two. We're going to come down to our. Let's go up here to contrast, and I'm going to go down to tonal contrast. It's going to be way too much for the photo. I already know that. So I'm going to bring it the overall amount down, which is like bring the opacity down. And then I'm going to go click on the masking brush, and I'm going to make sure I paint it away from their skin because it does bad things to the skin. Okay, but I like it on their clothes, and I like it on the texture of the tree and everything back here. And you can see it just adds a little bit. It's hard to see, but it adds just a little bit of overall contrast to a lot of those areas here. And then we'll finish things up. I'll click Add one more time, and we'll go over into our vignettes. Vignettes darken. By the way, a little tip for you, if you did not know, is if you really like a filter, like I always use the Big Softy filter here, click that little flag next to it. It saves it as a favorite. And that way it'll always show up here in your favorites. You don't have to go searching around for it. But we'll come over here. I'll click on Big Softy, and it adds a nice little vignette around the photo. Take a look. That's before. That's after. Because their heads are right up here at the top and it's starting to darken the top of the photo, we'll want to come over here once again with the brush, and I'm going to make it really big and just, well, let's see if even that's too much. I'm just going to paint just right at the top there and just make sure, here, let me undo, and just make sure that I don't darken their heads, because I don't want to darken their heads or their foreheads or their hair. Again, that's before, and then that's after. When we're done, we just hit the apply button, take us right back over into Lightroom where we can finish things up. And that's where we can actually see our before and after. So we can see where we came from. This was the original photo, all right? And then that is our edited photo. So, and the cool thing about this is we still have all the tools that we have inside of Lightroom. So if I wanted to maybe tweak the white balance a little bit, maybe pull back on some of the highlights even more, you could still do that. You're not stuck with only an edited version of the photo. You still have all your Lightroom tools that you're used to using. You can still go back and use all those tools on the final image. All right, so thanks everybody for watching here, and thank you so much to the people on One for making great software that makes my job as a Lightroom user that much easier, because they're really giving us the stuff that we want to do after Lightroom, and to go from one program to the other one and have exactly those things like retouching and special effects makes it really nice to have all in one place. Folks, my name is Matt Kloskowski. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.